Hello everybody and welcome back to another VOD review, but today is something extremely special that we have not seen in quite a while. One, we have a returning guest, Brightside, who was in a video prior for Kiriko on Kings Row. But the big thing today is that this is a team environment. This is a scrim, and as you can see on screen already, we can see stats that we are not able to see in previous reviews that are going to let us be a little bit more in depth with what we're talking about here. And this is why I wish scrimming was a little bit more mainstream, but nonetheless, I could rant about all about that all day. Brightside, if you want to break up my ranting by introducing yourself yet again to the audience, please go ahead.
I break up your ranting with pleasure. Hey there, I'm Brightside. Yeah, I play Overwatch. This is my second time on here. I'm currently looking into playing for the Right of Valkyries tournament, hosted by CSD, which basically limits players to have Mercy at all times on the team, which is quite silly, honestly.
And no Sojourn, right?
And there's no Sojourn. Yeah, great change, honestly.
No
Shout out to
Sojourn.
CSD for that decision. I love it so much. And since the last time I was here, this is like the first time I've taken a dive into actual competitive playing, to scrims, to playing in a team environment. I've even played in a tournament in the meantime, which was a very new experience.
Yeah.
So last time, for example, if you guys want to watch a video, maybe it's down below if Paz wants to do it.
If I remember, I will put it below. It's if I remember.
All right. We talked a lot about positioning and rotations and all that good stuff. And this time we're going to dive in, just see if I applied those things, and I just want to see how I can get better so that I can destroy this weekend. Yeah,
and how you have applied the stuff we've talked about before. Maybe some stuff that we can do it a little bit better, because there's always variables. But I do want to say one thing. Shout out to Skiesti for pulling through with this, because Skiesti had gotten so much hate at the start of this announcement event. This is a good thing, people. Not everything has to be negative. Homie's doing something good for the community. Let's be happy. We're going to get a tournament this weekend that you're not going to see Sojourn. You're going to see Mercy. Yes. I know that comes along with some hate, but we're not seeing Sojourn with Mercy. So this is good. Yeah. This is good. So shout out to Skiesti. I know that I'm not going to have this video out by the time the tournament's done, but if Skiesti does more events in the future, please do check those out. I'm sure this will be absolutely fantastic. But let's get into the actual review itself. I don't want to rant too much longer. I do have some questions for your team. Not your whole team, but specifically for you in this team environment. Do you do any alt planning, fight planning, which is called shot calling, target calling? What's your communication role in this, if any?
I mostly do target calling and alt tracking. That's what I usually do. I'm not the best IGL. I figured that out. I'm not a person to be in the leader position. Although I've tried it, I'm not the worst at it. But in my team and both of the teams I've scrimmed for, I usually play a tracker, alt tracker, target caller, that kind of role.
Okay. So in this scenario, in this team, you are alt tracking as well as target calling.
Yeah, just a little bit of everything since.
Okay.
For example, here my Mercy has here is a target caller. My Ramatra is the IGL. We have a person in the background that we swapped out for that game that is helping us a little bit in the meantime. So yeah, stuff like that.
I mean, I'm not gonna bash on the team environment, just because usually the one that does the target calling and the shot calling, the fight planning, is the tank, and then the alt track is who's playing Mercy. But I mean, whatever works is what works. I just wanted to know so I can maybe help in some of those regards. So if you're a target caller, I mean, I could kind of help in that regard. Kiriko, it's really hard to do because your playstyle is weird. But I mean, we don't have to talk too much more about that. I just wanted to get a basic understanding.
Yeah.
Something I want to talk about though before we do actually get into this VOD review is that this tournament is going to look very different than what you play in ladder. Actually, maybe that's not true. But there's some things that you can that are now 100% true all of the time. That isn't necessarily true 100% all the time, because Lucio is now not going to be picked. Now that Mercy is locked and that Sojourn is not, it changes a lot about this game. A lot. Specifically with tempo and how you're going to be playing these games. So the thing that you have to understand when you're playing Kiriko is that before you would have had an Orisa that's like full force walking in, or maybe a Hog. Hog I still think is a sleeper pick in this tournament because Hog still one shots with damage boost. But Ramatra's still probably better. Excuse me. The big thing you have to just realize is that this tournament is still going to have a lot of one shots. It's going to be very pokey, and you can go for a lot more flanky aggressive plays as Kiriko in this tournament than you could in other tournaments. But that also depends on how your Ramatra wants to play, what he has available, where he is positioned. Just realize that this tournament's going to be weird compared to what you're doing in ladder, because you're going to have a lot more opportunities to maybe take down a Widow, or maybe take down an Ashe, or maybe take down a Mercy. You know, there's a lot more opportunities to do that as compared to you're not going to be taking down enemy Kiriko. You're not going to be taking down enemy Lucio, or a Sojourn, or an Orisa, or a Red Tracer. Like, current meta, you're just not going to be able to really duel anything. This current meta in the tournament, you might have a little bit more opportunities. And it's important that you recognize that, because that's going to affect the way that you position, the way you use your abilities, everything.
That's true. The thing is, I also have to compensate for the lack of heals that my Mercy has in that moment. So I feel like the time frame is still very small, where I get to actually set up and use, in the worst case, use my abilities, to maybe get that pick, to get that value.
I mean, sure, that's true, but at the same route, hold up, why? 1 second. In the same route, you have to understand that it's like, if your DPS are positioned in a place that they're just going to get destroyed, even with a Mercy pocket, that's kind of on them. We'll talk about it a little bit more. We don't have to start talking about hypotheticals and whether you're right or wrong. We'll just be able to look at the scenario and see what's happening. So if you're good to go, I am also good to go.
I'm good to go. I'm ready.
Let's do this. So first fight, what you have to realize is that your team is going to be playing very slow, very much looking for just picks here and there, and that's what you have to try to support. You're not trying to just heal the whole time. You're going to be doing a lot more damage, and let's see where maybe you go wrong, but also let's see maybe where we've improved in some areas, and we can continue that improvement. Yeah, we're just chilling. So a lot of this time could be used a little earlier, looking for damage opportunities, because again, this is a very poke centric meta. This is about breaking shield or trying to pressure off flankers as Kiriko. This is not about I need to hold right click on my Ramatra for 5 seconds, because that's not doing anything. We've just seen this. And good Kirikos are not going to just be healing their Ramatra in this tournament. They're going to be looking for a lot more aggressive poke opportunities in situations like this. Maybe not even playing right next to your Ramatra either, because you don't frankly need to. Rough Suzu, unlucky.
True.
So the big thing here was just that the idea, the theory behind the way you're playing this meta is hindering you. In the sense Ramatra in this meta realistically shouldn't just fall over. He shouldn't. Because there's no speed boost that's going to overwhelm him. He will be fine. Because he has a shield. And when he has that shield and he knows that he has a Mercy, he's going to be playing around corners, and he's also going to have that rage form where realistically he's not just going to die out of nowhere.
That's true.
On the other side of the idea, though, my snipers are going to be getting pressured out by a Tracer. Realistically, this could be a compositional mistake. Honestly, I don't think you need a Widow on Colosseo. I think a Tracer would probably be better, and is probably meta in this scenario. You just swap out the Sojourn for an Ashe, and that's the new meta. To be honest, that's kind of how it would be. But I guess Widow's fine. The thing is that you have to understand, you're going to be supporting your DPS a lot more than your tank now. So setting yourself up, maybe the thing is, like, I could be like, oh, your positioning was bad because you're playing right next to your Ramatra and you couldn't poke anything and it was like really bad. Or I could just say like, this is the theory behind the composition, which would lead you to actually want to play here a little bit more and maybe look for some headshots here this whole time that would make your DPS have an easier time. Or when this Tracer tries to overextend and kill your backline snipers that are going to struggle with that, you can just pop out of this corner, headshot her and melee her and she's dead. Like maybe you could act as a role of, I'm going to challenge this and not just let her take this lane for free. Now, that's not your only responsibility. Keep that in mind. Like, sure, yes, you still do have to help this Ramatra, but like that whole entire fight for 20 seconds, that dude took no more than maybe 50 to 100 damage. And that was over the course of like 20 some seconds. If we look at the damage taken, like, sure, he's taken 1,000, but like your Mercy is taken 612. Your Ashe is taken 530. That's half of the tank's health pool. Like, that's a lot of damage that we weren't there to help. You know what I'm saying? That's
true, yeah.
They will be getting more pressured in this meta. And I'm not saying to forget about your tank, but he should be fine most of the time. Because even right here, like, the dude's crit, he's finally getting pressured. And just because of how powerful Kiriko is, you don't necessarily need to support him that much. Now the dude's just going to die because of bad positioning. But no, Ramatra just has a lot of options to never die. And this is how we are playing Overwatch now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was him just kind of... Honestly, I don't think it was a mistake because he had the ult before they did. And you also had to pick on the Tracer. I just think it was everything leading up to that. Like, if we were in the back line helping the people that really needed help, we probably would have had Kiriko ult by then, where we could have pulled the trigger with our Ramatra and made sure we win that fight. There's a lot of different things that could have happened there. And when you get to these higher level scrims, and you start learning these new metas, stuff like this, and not playing the meta or playing the characters that in a way that complements others, that's what really makes like a high GM to a like, okay, we're a Masters player. Tempo is like the #1 thing. And I can send you a VOD review I did with someone else about tempo so that you have a better understanding of it, but I don't want to rant too much about it. Given a one VOD review, because that would be like a 2-hour thing and not worth it for everyone. Yeah, right here, we could have just walked out sooner. Widow getting yapped, unfortunately. But it's very hard to play Widow on this map, so I really don't blame them, and I wouldn't be doing any better, so... That's that. Right. We have Kiriko ult, so... That's a good shot. That's a good start. Yep, we're Valking. Yeah, we don't need to use Kiriko ult now because we essentially have won the fight. Yep. So like the big thing is just like this meta, and I think this is going to help you out so much, and that's why I'm just focusing on it, is that realistically your Ramatra is just not going to die. And the same thing goes for the enemy team. This Ramatra was right here, and if everyone looks at him, he still probably wouldn't die because that's just how Ramatra works right now.
That's true. His ability cycle, like if you do it well, you just don't die whatsoever. That's
so
true.
If an enemy team in this tournament is going to hard roll your Ramatra and just put all of their resources into killing your Ramatra, yeah, it's as easy as just holding right click on him and he doesn't die, and then your team just gets free reign. Like that's a thing. If the team, because I know you're playing in a lower division, you're not playing in the contenders division. So like if they're putting all their resources in Ramatra, they're just blundering a free win for you. So that in that situation, you should just heal your Ramatra the whole time because he'll actually be taking considerable amounts of damage. But if we see this scrim right here, like the Ashe is never shooting the Ramatra, even if he's in plain sight. The Ashe was shooting the Mercy all the way back here, or maybe the Widow back here. They're not even focused on the Ramatra. So they're doing a pretty good job actually of playing this comp, all things considered. Let's just keep watching though and see where we could do a little bit better. I don't know exactly how you should be using the Kiriko ult in this meta, because if they use their Kiriko ult, then you can't really just run away from it because you don't have Lucio. So you might just have to match it. But then in that case, it's like, do I really have to match every time?
Yeah, that's a situational thing. That's
yeah. Because then you just hold on to it all game. It's, I don't know. I think it's more viable to match it now than it is to just try to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. So, okay. Now this is going to be like, well, Paz, you're contradicting everything you just said. So this is a shift in tempo that is caused by an ultimate being procced. There's a difference between how you're generally going to be taking fights, aka the neutral fights, and how you're going to take fights when certain conditions are met that are usually aggravated by ultimates. So in this situation, right? Okay, Tracer's behind my team. In a neutral scenario where we're both teams are just kind of chilling out, I think you turning around and trying to get something done about this Tracer is completely fine and viable, and that's an understandable decision.
In this way, you just give her value.
That is true. But even, I mean, you're giving her value because she's just kind of existing. To be honest, she shouldn't be getting any value in this position because she took too long. The reason I'm saying that is there's a different condition here. The condition is I use Kiriko ult, and my, I keep saying Sigma, but it's Ramatra. My Ramatra has his fists out and wants to start punching people and walking in. So it's a shift in tempo because he has the opportunity to walk in that he didn't have before because he has increased speed and he does just more damage in general because we all understand what Kiriko ult does.
Yeah.
So now he is more susceptible to be a target because he can walk faster and he is more of a threat than he was before. The other thing is the whole team can walk in faster now, so Tracer is really not going to catch up. She really shouldn't be able to catch up. Now, if this was like a Widow right here and she was critical, maybe you could support that. But even then, I think the better idea here is let me support my Ramatra that's walking in. Because if you support the Ramatra here and heal him as he's trying to get the kill, this Ramatra would have been dead much sooner. He's probably going to die anyways. But your Ramatra would have popped off even harder because he wouldn't have had to leave as fast. So it's... Tempo is not just about the neutral fight. It's also about how you're influencing the game. Now, literally every other ult in the game that you're going to be seeing, at least on your team, the only other one that's going to be maybe a little bit faster is when he uses his, what is it, Nemesis? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, we call it Nemi as a in short form.
It's whenever he uses his Nemi. Nemi, that's a funny name. Sorry.
It sounds very silly.
But does that make sense? Where it's like now this is a bad decision, where before it was okay, but now it's like I need to support my Ramatra who's getting stuff done because he has the opportunity to.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. It does make sense. Yeah, just like I have to be aware of when my when my priorities just
You're good.
When my priorities just switch, when I have to think differently, when I have to think, what is more important right now? Me poking this Tracer, or is it me keeping my Ram alive, putting in all the pressure, putting all the damage?
Yeah, and I think you're fairly new to Masters, right? You said you climbed pretty fast last time?
Yeah, that was sadly a thing. Yeah, I think I skipped a lot of fundamentals on my way up.
Oh, no, I'm not saying you're bad or anything at all.
That's also not. But just I skipped so fast that I think I missed some stuff because
I think what it is the fact that you've learned to play the old meta at a very high level, which was Ooga Booga, I'm walking in with my Orisa and my Sojourn's gonna one shot and all I have to do is heal. But now that you don't have you don't have Sojourn, you don't have Lucio. Realistically, you don't have any capabilities to do that. It's like the literal opposite side of the spectrum. I wouldn't say it's the whole opposite side of the spectrum all of the time, but it's a lot slower, and it's like learning those different tempos is what's going to help you figure out, because if you memorized how to use every single ability, sure, that could work, but it's better to understand it so you can adapt to really weird niche situations that just happen naturally.
Yeah, that's how I get the most value out of my character.
And it's not like you never are going to be playing fast with this comp. It's just it's going to have to be aggravated by a specific cooldown or more commonly in ultimate. So, okay, that's enough ranting on this end. Let's keep going. So that was a good moment where we turned around then, but we would have heard audio cues much faster. That's a funny glitch. So another thing that can help you, especially if you're doing ult tracking, is if you know what they have, it can also help influence the way that you're going to be playing this fight in terms of tempo as well. Again, I know I'm talking about tempo a lot, but this is really important when you're playing in a team environment in a tournament, because if you understand this stuff, you'll see a lot of improvement faster. So the thing is, it's like they don't have anything. They're closest to their Ramatra ults. They're Nemi. They're Nemi. They're closest to that. So this ultimate it's possible that they get this during the fight, but they don't have it yet. They need time to get that. We already have ours. So this is a little bit of the IGL's whole what they should be doing, and this is their job. But what they should do is they should tell you guys to posture forward, to posture aggressively, so you can take advantage of the fact that you have Nemi and they don't have Nemi. But I hope that makes sense. I know it's like I'm trying to do the haha YouTube content, but like if you have Nemi, they don't. That's also going to influence the way you play. You're not really gonna be worrying too much about the backline as much. You're gonna be worried about like when is it time to strike, with my Ramatra.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
I'm just trying to illustrate how this meta is going to be very important that you understand, and the same thing goes in the opposite direction. If we need time to get Nemi, and they already have Nemi, I'm going to be playing much farther away even than what I'm used to in some situations, because I don't want them to just do whatever they want to do. I want to make it harder for them to make this fight fast.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe create an opportunity for us to outplay them with skill and not even let them use the ultimates, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if it was like spam versus brawl, and like we have a Lucio but they don't, maybe sometimes the play is let's play like a little aggressively, but don't use the amp yet. The moment they use an ultimate, we amp out. Like that's another way to do it, but it's not very common the way that Overwatch works nowadays. In GOATs, it could have worked, but nowadays it just doesn't happen as often. The big thing here, and I'm saying this not necessarily because you need to hear it, but maybe someone that's watching this that's a little lost needs to hear it. The way that I explain tempo is obviously like the speed of which people want to play the game. But at the very core of Overwatch is I need to win the game while making them lose. It's not hard. It's very simple. Like, wow, that's how you win a game, Paz. You're so smart. The thing is, it's like the way that you win Overwatch is that you play to your team's strengths while not letting them play to their strengths. So if I'm playing to my tempo, to my preferred way of playing the game with the characters that I have and the way that they synergize, and I'm not letting them do what they want to do, I'm much more likely to win. It's almost certain that I win. Except sometimes mechanics come in and then people just get cracked out of their minds and get stuff done. But in this situation, it's like, if it were, for example, if it were this composition we're looking at right now, and this was like the current meta, which is like the Orisa, Lucio, Kiriko. I shouldn't say current meta because people play different things, but let's say this was like an Orisa, Lucio, Kiriko. The way that I would win as the blue team is if I play much slower. I give my Ashe time to get picks, and we elongate the fight. The way I'm going to position should be counterintuitive to what they want to do, which is they want to get very close and personal, and they want to beat me down very close. They want to get as fast as possible and just not let the Ashe have time. Knowing this information, if I'm playing on this spam composition, I am not going to be placed so close to the Ramatra. I'm going to be placed much further back. I'm going to elongate the fight because that plays to my team's strengths and exploits the enemy team's weakness. That's literally how you win Overwatch. It's not complicated, but no one's ever told you these things because they're always telling you, "Don't die, lol. That's how you win." That's not how it works. It's not how it works.
That's true.
That's my mini rant. I'm gonna keep saying this stuff. We're only 3 minutes in. I've been talking so long, but does this all make sense to you?
It does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, because honestly, like the Suzus, they're they're all right. They're a lot better than what they were before. If I'm not saying anything, the positioning, the only reason why it's meh is because of the idea of the composition you're playing. And if you have a better understanding, like, I mean, it's better than what it was before. Because before I feel like it was pretty clear to me, like, hey, there's something going on here. But I mean, obviously we're a little overexposed there, but let's see how we take this fight. Draw strength from nature. Anyways. Alright, yeah, we got dynamited. That's something that you're definitely going to want to try to avoid getting hit by as much as you can in this tournament, because Ashe is going to be played virtually every game. I'm sure you're already aware.
She's going to be the next Sojourn in this tournament, yeah.
Yep. And that's just like how, like, Ashe is incredibly strong, but Sojourn's just dumb. And that's why she hasn't been played ever. Yep, so this moment, it's kind of like, you know, being ready to help. Okay, that was just your Widow's dumbness. I would say the problem here in this fight is that your team just took too long to make something happen with the Ramatra ult. And it kind of hurts you because, like, you should be postured more aggressively because of that, and it would help you. It would make your life easier if we would have used that. But all in all, like, you played this kind of limbo way pretty well. I mean, you got 2 picks, but this is just not looking good for your team whatsoever. The fact he's not dead yet is crazy. Yeah, but this is just a lost fight. So, like, right there, team moment. Like, you just need to be playing faster as a team there. I think you played that mechanically pretty well. Like, this seems like it could be High Masters gameplay. This doesn't seem like Diamond or anything.
Good or bad?
I need to think a little bit.
That's a rough one.
I need to think a little bit. The problem is, I think here, let me explain to you why this turned out to be a bad Suzu. So the big thing is, no one's going to die from that. And
you also have to take into account that the Ashe just had her ult, so she's not going to be building up her ball she's not going to have it immediately because I didn't Suzu that in that, like,
even
that
if
situation.
Even if she has Bob, that's not the thing that we have to worry about here. We have to worry about this Ramatra here and the Tracer wherever she is. And we have to assess the threat level of them, because they're realistically the only people that are going to be a threat. I mean, if the Bob comes in, then it's almost given, like, okay, if someone's crit, I'm going to have to Suzu this. The stuff that's going to bite you in the butt a little bit faster, that's going to be the Ramatra and the Tracer. So in this situation, if the Ramatra would have immediately kicked out into this position here and tried to just bully your team there when they were all burning, that's like, okay, I have to Suzu. Or if this Tracer was like, you see that she's going to kill that Mercy while she's burning, okay, that's a Suzu. It's kind of like the whole idea of, do I Suzu this anti or not? And this was like, it should have been a Suzu, to be honest, because I think that any Ramatra would turn immediately and just try to start killing the burning people. He didn't do that, though. So because of his mistake, you could have held off the Suzu, I think. But it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a terrible Suzu. Does that make sense? Why I think it was like, because if we bring this back, it's like,
there's just much more worse stuff that's gonna happen there, you know?
Yes.
And just,
like right here, like realistically, I would immediately be thinking, okay, Ramatra's gonna rage form and just try to like kill everyone in the backline. That's what he should do. But if I look over and he doesn't do that, and I don't see the Tracer in sight, like this stuff wasn't needed. So at the same, and if it was a perfect environment, that Suzu is likely pretty damn good, all things considered. The problem is that in this tournament, you're not playing in a perfect environment, and it's stuff like that that's going to carry the games for your team. Because your team's also Masters players, so you really need to find ways to just carry when you can. And really make it seem like, okay, yeah, I'm GM. Like, I'm making this stuff happen. It's good that you have that understanding of like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best, but like maybe the way that I can reevaluate it and reconstruct the thinking of it, maybe that can help you a little bit. I hope it did, but let's keep going.
I mean, yeah.
If you have any questions, again, just let me know. So yeah, this is one of those moments where it's like, yeah, I'm okay with you healing the Ramatra here because the Ramatra is in a brawl. He's in a 1v1. People are looking at him. But in those situations where he's just kind of poking, you have more opportunities to help your backline. And even then, you might be able to lay off of it a little bit in the front line. And try to help the backline a little bit more, or at least peek at what's going on. But this situation right here is like, yep, this is what a Mercy meta looks like for a flex support. My DPS died to their DPS. Hence the reason why I haven't been playing a lot of Overwatch, because this kind of stuff happens all the time, and it's just like, well, my team died. Yep. Yep, I like the target, Brian. Yep, switching. Alright, we have Nemi. They do not have Nemi. Good Suzu. Yep. And now we just walk in. I'm cool with this. Yep. This is pretty textbook stuff. Sheesh! Pixel. Sheesh. Yeah, honestly, like... My biggest thing is just that we have a Widow. I feel like if your Widow player wasn't on Widow, this would be a hard role if the Widow player played Tracer. I'm not flaming the Widow player. It's just like this is, okay. Quite frankly, probably the hardest map to Widow on. And your team is paying for it, sadly. Yeah, right here is one of those moments where it's like this whole time we could be looking in the back line, seeing how we can support against a Tracer. And then now is like one of those moments where I'd be focusing more on the front line. Yeah.
Thanks for the touch-up. He took the robot from us. Thanks for the boost.
I trust you'll do your 30-minute aim training before the tournament tomorrow on Kiriko only. So, yeah, I mean, took you a little bit, but you got it, so that's good. Also kept your Mercy alive, which isn't bad. I like the idea, just poor execution. Oh no, this isn't bad. Like, you've definitely gotten a lot more comfortable to this rank. His scrims are definitely harder than ladder. That is a fact.
Very much so.
Alright, so we have our Kiriko out. We should be posturing forward because they don't have theirs. I'm trying to take advantage of this fact. Yeah, we took too long. Oh, that's unlucky.
Yeah.
But the big thing here is it's a tempo hole. Honestly, I almost wanted to make the whole Varvy be like, okay, we have the ability to be aggressive. They have nothing to receive. Like, let's just go. Press that go button faster, because then we're playing to our strengths while like exploiting their weaknesses. And I think, I don't know, who's doing the fight planning again? Lynx?
Yeah, Lynx and help with our other IGL that was swapped out for that game. Yeah, Lynx is also new to scrims, you know, learning how to IGL and everything. So our comps are also very cluttered that game, FYI. So it wasn't perfect.
The thing is like, what you have to understand is that you can also interject and help, but when you have Kiriko ult, the thing is like, dude, if you Kiriko ult this right down the middle, even if it wasn't in the plan, like, at least something is going to happen here because we're waiting too long. Like, it's not like this is not going to get value.
It's true. As the RAM is already low, we could have punished him very easily.
Yes.
Combined with Nemesis.
And then we probably would have dodged that pulse bomb and the need to use Suzu in a bad situation. And wow, it's a domino effect. So, you know, one of those things. Also, I mean, we have a... Wait. Oh, Pixel isn't on the Widow or the Ashe anymore. We have a Hanzo now too, so I mean we're a little bit faster now that we have Storm Arrow. Sheesh! Sheesh!
Should have died there, honestly.
No, you're Kiriko. That kind of stuff just happens. Low key. I wish you would have used Kiriko ult, so you would have had some ult charge from that, but yeah, realistically, dude, if if the team is just not pressing ultimates when you have them and they don't, and you know that, just do it. Just press Q. Like you can't wait all day.
Can I cut you off really quickly?
Yeah,
my team was basically yelling at me to not ult there because they were down 2, but then that backfired really badly. I would have ulted there, but that wasn't really influenced by me.
I mean, yeah, this situation, honestly, the ulted is pretty bad. I mean, the positioning, yeah, let's go back again. I was just tunnel visioned on that old idea, so let's look at this again. Let's look at where we went wrong.
Under my protection.
Okay, line of scrimmage. It's why you died there.
Yeah.
Because your Ramatra for some reason didn't maintain this angle and rotated to this angle.
I should have adapted faster there. I should just TP to my Mercy there and then just went from there on.
Yeah, that's like one of those moments where you can be using TP even if it's not the best situation, just because like you're not getting set up the best right there.
Yeah.
So that wasn't necessarily like you're not using that you're not using ults, but I was tunnel vision on that. There's a lot of situations where it's like you can be using ult here, please do. Like this situation. But now they have ult, and it's like all of that, yeah. Now maybe you don't have to use... Yeah, no. Okay. Wow. I don't know who Pixel is, but they are absolutely swagging on the enemy team.
They always swag on the enemy team. Crazy game, yeah.
Yeah.
Really crazy.
Pixel the GOAT, low-key. Yeah, we're just walking with the team. Alright. That's on Zorua. That wasn't needed. I think the whole idea of understanding when you really need to use it is probably your next bet. But if the tournament's tomorrow, I wouldn't really think about it. Like I would just play how you normally play, because that could be detrimental if you play that or try to fix it now. The bigger thing I think that's going to be easier for you to implement is just the thought process behind the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't want to tell you something that's going to be bad in a few days. That was a line of scrimmage idea. It's like you don't have as many opportunities to leave or go backwards into your team from this angle, especially since like the line's going to go here. Don't want to be caught in this situation. I know that's a weird one though, because like we had Kiriko, we should be able to just walk in there. But that does let us to lose and die, which is weird because we had an advantage there, but TP. Yeah, this is one of those moments where it's like good to help your Ram. Not needed.
Yeah.
If he's half health, and even though he's crit, like, Ram's not dying. If he plays it right. Alright, so this is a 3-minute overtime. The you guys likely win.
Indeed. Spoiler alert.
I mean, if it's 3 minutes, you have to win. So positioning there, it's just like,
yeah,
understand. Again, this whole meta. Oh, the music turned off. 1 second, 1 moment. The big thing you want to avoid in this tournament, again, is open space, because that's when they're going to have the easiest time shooting you. So just keep that in mind. Open space is not your friend. You want to make sure your rotations are clean and that you're not getting forced to TP too much, because then you're an easy target for Tracer. You guys do win this, though. Yeah, once you just punch the go button, your life is so much easier.
Just look at this.
Okay, yeah, so just so that you have this note, Ramatra versus Ramatra using Nemesis ult, they never die. It's impossible.
Yeah, just look what happens.
Just
Thanks.
let it happen. Let it happen and
while.
look to support the backline, because he's likely not going to die. But if everyone starts looking at the Nemi, obviously, like, help the Nemi. But this is one of those situations you will never kill them. And, like, instead of complaining about bad balancing, just let it happen. Look for something else outside of the Nemesis ult to still do max damage. That's what your Hanzo's doing. Your Hanzo's an MVP. I'm sorry. Pixel, the goats. So we know they have Bob. We know they have Valk. We don't have anything. We're closing on our Bob and our Dragon. So realistically, I probably want to take this fight a little faster and not let them have value out of Bob. But you don't necessarily have that option because it's overtime. And you have to stay on the Bob. So that's fun. Luckily, they blunder the Bob. Pixel the goat. Yeah, right now, Pixel just carries that fight. The position. The big problem I have with this fight is just like, you know that they're going to have to walk to point. So staying on point is a little risky, especially right next to your Ramatra, because you're going to get cleaved easier there and also dynamited easier there. But that also falls under the whole idea of tempo. And not just like, hey, use this line of scrimmage, or like, hey, don't stand there. He's finally on Tracer. Or he or she, sorry. Or maybe not. I don't know. Zorua is on Tracer. But now that they're on ball, you almost want to stay next to your team. So now it's kind of working for you. Last fight, I Kiriko at this. Nice. Wow. Wow. Wow.
The comms are wild, like at that phase.
Yeah, I mean,
that was crazy.
I can assume I was a spectacle. Okay. But let's talk about a few things before I lose you here and everyone else. Well, I probably already did in terms of the attention. But number one thing, tempo and how it influences the game, because in Masters, that's just kind of how you have to think through it. Because there's so many different scenarios where you had to play differently. But the thing is that I can't just give you like, oh, just play faster. Oh, just play slower. Because it's different depending on what's going on. In this meta specifically, it's like the things that you have to look for is, do I have Nemesis form? Like, do we have Nemi? Do we have Rage form? Is my Ramatra going to be looking to punch soon? But if it's just a weird pokey battle between both teams, you don't really need to worry about Ramatra all that much unless they try to hard pressure him. But in this meta, in this tournament's meta, you're probably not going to have to deal too much with that. If I were to say number two, you're not going to have to deal too much with just like one or the other. It's going to be very much a conglomerate of a lot of different situations that you're just going to have to think through. The second thing I would say, sure, I could say positioning. Sure, I could say Suzu usage. Sure, I could say push harder on the ult. And I'm actually going to use that last one. And just it's all in alt. Understanding how the alt influences tempo and the composition you're playing, and when it's time to punch the card, even if you're playing a slower comp. I think that's the second. To be honest, all of it just comes down to this. I don't want to give you any other tips because this tournament's tomorrow. You don't want to be thinking about how you can improve when you just need to perform. But tempo is a mindset change and a way you're thinking that might be able to help you when you're in those harder games. And that's what I want to leave you with. I don't want to say like, oh, Suzu, when you actually need to with threat levels and all this other BS. Worry about tempo. Think about how your team is playing against their team. If you have a Widow and Ashe, your team's going to be needs more time than one that's an Ashe and a Tracer. It's different. No matter what, though, if you're mirroring in this meta, it's going to be very pokey. Whenever your Ramacha, though, wants to get in, he has the Nemi, and your enemy team doesn't have the Nemi, then walk in with that Nemi. You don't have to play slow anymore. You just walk in with that stuff and win the fight. Same thing with Kiriko ult. Same thing with... well, that's about the only two things that we're going to have to worry about. The last thing I want to say is just like the VAC stuff before, or any aim training. Any aim training before you actually play the tournament, before you have that warm-up scrim, make sure that you're just ready to go. And make sure that even if there's some downtime, that 15 minutes before the game, 5-10 minutes before the game, whatever you want to do, that you're warming up and that you're ready to go. Do you have any other questions?
I don't think I do really. I don't really think I do.
Well, if something...
Maybe I do, but
Sorry, excuse me. Go ahead.
Did you just sneeze? Bless you. I was thinking about a thing that I was gonna ask you for weeks, but I forgot it today. There was a thing. I don't think I have any more questions. I don't think I do.
And if anything does come up, just please do let me know. But to close out this video, if anyone doesn't understand in the comments down below, please do let me know, and I can try to make more resources on tempo, because it's a very important concept that I think a lot of players in that Masters Elo, or that's what's really holding them back, at least now with current Overwatch. Your socials, Brightside, will be in the description if I remember, and if I forget, please do remind me.
All right, will do.
Show Brightside some love. Good luck in the tournament. Hopefully you win. If you do, I'll make sure that I say something about that in the description. But yeah, if you have any questions, do let me know. If you have any questions in the comments, let me know. But if you watch some random stranger for 47 minutes talk to a screen and you're not subscribed yet, I would consider subscribing, because that's cool and it helps me out.
And it's free.
And it's free. That's true. It is free. It's free on YouTube, not on Twitch. But yeah, it's free on YouTube, so you should subscribe now. Anyways. Thank you guys all so much for watching. But until next time, I've got to peace out. And wow. I ruined the intro. Just cut it.